And then once you've got that hissing sound, you can dial it in. And this is where you're going to see that really nice blue flame. And I'm not sure how well you can hear that. This is a nice burn. Really wanted to show you how I field clean my Whisperlite. I got my bag with all the accessories. And this is the way I keep mine folded up. Just kind of hooked in here like that. And just unhook that, unwind that. I do want to get in there, so I'm going to leave that folded like that. We can take the cup off. This really doesn't usually need much as far as what we're going to do with that. It sort of unscrews. And this has just got, I think this is fiberglass. That's going to soak up the fuel that comes into the bottom of the cup when we pressurize this and release it light and give you that big fireball for a few seconds to heat up. We're going to have a stove generator here. And so that flame is going to heat up the naphtha that's in here and then gasify that to push that out some little waffles or vents that are on the bottom here. So we'll just put this aside. I'm going to put that on a paper towel to keep it relatively clean, just off camera a little bit here. You might be able to see that, but just placing that there. Now you might want to take this apart. If you're getting into the fine stuff, probably just for cleaning purposes that I'm putting this down. Let's see, I think this needs a star, but this end of the multi-tool fits right in there. And give that a light twist. It's just brass stuff, so I don't probably have it on too tight, although heat can cause it to expand. I'm just going to fit that in there. Give it a little bit of a twist. And you get that screw off there. And we're going to see what's underneath here. Get that. It should be pretty easy. Remember, don't over-tighten these. Get it on and maybe give it a quarter to half turn, depending what it needs. I'm going to take this screw and put it over here. Just have that right beside my fuel cap. I'm going to take the little lid here. This kind of reminds me of, I don't know, a hubcap or something. And a little bit greasy, or not greasy, but sooty. So we're going to clean that up. It's not going to be perfect. This is a field clean. And inside here, this is the part I want to show off. So I'm going to dump this out, move the stove for a second, show off these plates. And there's, actually on that, there's another one right in the bottom. Let's get that out. Be careful you don't bend them up. You want to kind of pay attention to the order, but basically got a bowl on the bottom, and all this whole stove comes apart easy. I'm not taking apart the whole thing. I'm not changing the head or the jet. There's 3 little pins here holding these waffles in place, but for a field clean, I'm just setting that down. I might want to pull these apart, and you'll notice there's an order to this, and you want to alternate sort of one waffle shape. I'm not sure if you can see that on the camera, the waves. One waffle shape, and then it'll be a flat shape, and then a waffle shape, and it just alternates. And what I want to do, and if I don't have room on the paper towel, but I should, but that'll all stay on camera. So we're going to just alternate, and I remember that. So waffle, flat, flat. This is going to give you another waffle plate. Then we're going to want a flat and then a waffle. So what do we have here? I'm feeling like we got 7 here in my unit. I don't know if that's what they're supposed to have, but this thing's been operating fine. So we've got our empty, basically stove cup. I'm not going to take the rest of it apart. This is usually the part that gets kind of juiced up, is right in between the plates. And we want that nice and clear or clean with no little bits of grit or any other thing, so that the fumes or the vapor push through smoothly to get a nice burn. So you can actually use the naphtha to clean this, and it doesn't take a long time. So I'm just going to give this a shake, get a little bit of naphtha on here. I'll put that lid down on my other paper towel. So I'm going to reach across you folks, so part of the arm, and reach across, pour out a little bit of the naphtha. We don't need a lot. You're going to see some grit come off here. Hopefully this is in the shot. So give that a wipe. You're going to see that's going to blacken up a bit. Not too bad. This wasn't really that dirty of a stove, but I don't think I've cleaned it in a good long while, and I loan it out. And what I'll do is sometimes too, if I feel a little bit of grit, I'll kind of wiggle in between the grooves here, just to get through that. And I would say a shop rag works better than a paper towel, but this was handy just because the paper towel will rip up on the waffles. But you're going to get, I'm sorry, lifting that up so I can see it because I'm visually impaired, but you folks need to see it. Some of that grit's going to come off, and you almost get the metal surface back, the shine to that. and want to just get them all. So I took this one. I'm going to move through all of these and wipe them down. So it doesn't, again, take a long time if you have a relatively clean stove. So if you do this regular. Other things to clean with, I guess you could use just about anything that's going to remove grease, soot, leftover burnt up vapory stuff. You can see that the cloth is picking up some of it. Again, not horribly dirty, but it will get that way over time. So I just wanted to do a bit of a field clean, regular maintenance of this, and we'll check it out after. I don't know if you folks have ever done that. And this isn't wildly different than a Coleman. So we've got our waffle, or flat, or waffle, that flat here. My Coleman also has these waffles and rings, and sometime I'm going to check. Maybe I'll make a video on that and compare them. Maybe do some boil tests too, but to see if the rings are even the same size, I really don't know. I don't even know how much these cost. I've never actually broken one to really need one. You can probably pick up a whole stove on Kijiji or Amazon for anywhere from probably $80 to $100. I guess it's going to depend on time of year, condition, and everything. I've seen these listed as shaker stoves. This one is the Whisperlite, and one of my favorites because it'll go a long time on a full tank. I have the, I guess the medium size or larger tank over here. And so I'm just wiping them a bit. And it's not perfect. You could scrub this with perhaps a toothbrush and maybe use some brake pad cleaner and do a pretty decent job. I am going to kind of wipe everything a bit. It's also nice to get them wiped down a bit so they're less sooty when you put them in your bag. We'll see if this thing comes up with that blue flame after. But you're going to see wiping this, you're going to get some of the soot off. And if you were burning that a whole bunch and didn't clean it up, it'd just be black. I'm going to wipe off the bottom of the fuel cup, really. I don't know that there's really much point to wipe the inside of it. You get that brassy color. There's not a lot of burn there. The bolt itself, more a cosmetic thing than anything, in my opinion. And then we look at the pump, and you want to be checking that filter. And, there goes my campfire baggie that was sitting on the bench falling over. Check that over. Just make sure it's in decent condition. There's no cracks. I'll show you a little trick of putting this into the bottle. Some people find it fiddly, so we'll do that. We want to reassemble this. And before that, though, there is some other part of the stove we want to be wiping. That's the inside cup here. And then checking your inside piece here. So the burn isn't happening here. So it's actually pretty clean. We'll turn that this way. Maybe come around and see if you guys can see that. It's not too bad in here because a lot of the burning's happening on the top surface where it can get really gunked up. And as well, I do field clean it from time to time. But it's going to be these waffles here that get a little bit dirty. And that cup itself, when it's got the initial burn, that's where the inefficient burn happens. Everything gets sooty. If you overfill the bottom cup, and I'll show you that, maybe we'll get a little fireball. If you overfill the bottom cup, you're going to get a bigger fireball. It's still going to work. You're just going to want to keep that away from anything super flammable. And I get a bit nervous when it's so big that it's too close to that fuel bottle, so you don't have a lot of long cord. So you don't need a lot of fuel in the bottom. Like you can see, just to wipe with the naphtha itself, and I didn't need a lot. We'll clean that up. It wasn't overly filthy, but you know what? Still want to look at it. So what I'm going to do, put everything back together. I didn't actually have to take off the bottom fuel cup, but I did want to give it a quick wipe. So I might put that back on there so it stops squirming around and doing its thing. I want to get something done. I wanted to use the working light and do one of these videos because I like to get something out kind of bushcrafty and campy at least once a week if I can. I have a whole bunch of stuff on the go, but I have some camping coming up, so I wanted to play with that. So what we're going to want to do is you want to count off, even if you didn't put them in order, and they sort of are, so we can do them in reverse order. We know we're starting with a waffle, flat, waffle, flat, waffle. That should be flat. So the bottom piece should be waffle. You can stack them all up. There's a really brave squirrel over here. I wish I could turn the camera. I was heading over here. I've never eaten one, but I got a camp stove going. A bit of a sugar low. Wonder how that squirrel will taste. All right, moving back to the video, Jay. Put everything back together. We can slide that back on here and get that in between those pins. Now you could drop them in one at a time. I just kind of guide the whole stack on there and give it a bit of just a gentle kind of wiggle. And if you're having a hard time in one area where the generator is, I'm just noticing, You can kind of set that in first, kind of jiggle them all in place. That'll fit right in the groove. It's not a tight, hard thing to fit down there. And then we're going to want to put the top cap on and screw that down. So it is easier probably to work at with those legs open. I just didn't open them at all. We're going to want to screw that down once everything's in place here. So we want to make sure that's seated. Everything's down in where it's supposed to be. And they should be below the top of each of those edges. That's how you know it's down there enough. And then we want to put on a little hat here. Call it that. And we're going to need to screw that in place. Now this is the fiddly part for a blind guy, but you can do that by fiddle. Just twist it in there. Come back in here. I'll get my multi-tool. It really is a fast clean once you can line it up. Okay, I'm just changing the angle before I finish screwing this down. That part's not magical, but then I'm going to connect it and light it up. So we can get that going. So once I get it kind of tight-ish, and right now it's still going, I don't really want it loose. So once I get it kind of firm, I'm going to give it another, probably that's a quarter turn, maybe a half turn. I wouldn't go tighter than that. I don't want to strip this. So I'm between a quarter and a half turn to get that down there. That plate's on there solid. Bottom plate's screwed in. So what we're going to do, I'm going to spin this around. So I've just grabbed it, pushed it in nice and firm. Then I've got that out of the way. And then this should just pull up on there just nicely. Maybe hear a clip on it. It's just in place now. So I'm going to move that paper towel when I light this up. Probably spin it around. I think you can understand here what's going to happen next. We're going to want, I don't know, 40 or 50 pumps. Again, I'm going to move that paper towel. Need a bit of pressure in here. Not too crazy, actually. And all that flammable stuff I'm going to move out of the way. But I'm going to turn on the pump for a few seconds. So another thing on fire, make sure you have a fire extinguisher, a bucket of water, something around. I've got a whole pool and a bucket beside me. So that should be good. Even another maybe 5 or 10. And I don't need to have this open a long time. So I'm going to just recenter this here. So I should spin you around again. And what I'm going to do, I need some matches in a second. I'm going to open that up. This doesn't need to be on the hot plate area. I want to stretch that out a bit so I'm distanced away. I'm going to open this maybe for 3 or 4 seconds. Because if I do more than that, I'm going to have way too much fuel in the cup. And then when I light this, it's going to get exciting. So I actually turn it off when I light it. It just depends how much fuel's out there. Let it go light, let it go sideways burn. Get a little bit of a woofness. Let's open that up. Really need to leave that match there. Let that go. It's going to heat up, and you can get some pretty serious fireballs. We'll let that heat up the burner a bit. You can open that up once you got a good blue flame. So I'll let that go. Make sure that's in the shot. We'll have a look. Very nice. That's a big fireball there. That'll actually heat up the generator in a second. So you don't want to do this under a tarp. You probably have it open a little too much. So what we're going to do is turn it down. I can hear it hissing away. So we'll just let that gasify. Because we got way more gas in the cup. So that's what I talked about. And it'll leak out. And if it's not set up right, you got way more fuel than you need. That's why you only need 2-3 seconds. Now that burns off quick and gasifies, but some of it ended up on the plate there. But once you hear that hissing sound, that's the size of flame you really should have. So only 2-3 seconds in the cup is all I've ever really needed. And then once you've got that hissing sound, you can dial it in. And this is where you're going to see that really nice blue flame. And I'm not sure how well you can hear that. This is a nice burn. For me anyway, I find that's actually set up fairly high. I don't usually burn a flame that hot. Hopefully the mic can hear that. And when I'm looking from this angle, inside there I can see a blue ring on the inside where the waffles are, and then it gets orange around the edge. And I've got a lot of heat up here, so I'm going to dial that down. I don't need usually this much heat. If I'm trying to boil up a massive amount of water, maybe. And now you can hook this by flipping the hook the other way. It's going to work better for you. And this is where I have a video on simmering and kind of bring it right down. But it's still pretty hot. I would say I don't often cook much higher than this. And it really is a nice flame and got a decent amount of fuel in this tank for the weekend. Really wanted to show you how I field clean my Whisperlite. And I haven't cooked for thousands of hours on this, but I've used this at a few camps. It's never failed me. Thanks for all the support. This is just a quick way I use Naphtha to clean my Whisperlite. And you can do that anywhere, just with a towel, a dirty sock, shop cloth, something. Give it a wipe down, get the grit out of the inside of the waffles. You get a nice smooth burn, and you're going to use less fuel, less of an issue. Remember, when you're filling that bottom cup, don't put in too much fuel. So only 2-3 seconds is enough. And then let that burn off for a bit, and then open her up, and you'll see you get a nice flame. You do not need these things on high. A good low burn is going to be lots of heat. I'll turn mine off. Thanks everyone for coming out, subscribing, liking, sharing, remixing, all that stuff. It really means a lot to me. It actually motivates me. I like doing this and I like sharing. Really enjoy the feedback. That thing just keeps on going for a few minutes. Bye everyone. See you next time.